What is going on, everyone, and welcome to Rec Talk. I'm riding down 575 right now, or as I like to call it, the devil's asshole. So, what an insane time it is in college football. Like, we've had like 10 coaches be fired this year, and I don't care at what point in the season you did a hot board for like hot seats for coaches. I don't think anyone had Sharon Moore on there. Just saw on ESPN, On3, everyone who reports sports. Sharon Moore is now fired at Michigan, which to me seems to make no sense. I guess that's how embarrassing it's now become for Michigan to lose to Ohio State. Was it 2018, 2019, the last time they lost to Ohio State, or however long it's been. But wild that they would willingly enter this coaching pool that's, you've got still probably 6 other teams looking for coaches. Wild. Let's talk about Notre Dame. Isn't the reason they didn't join the Big 10 when there were rumblings of that before conference realignment became a trendy thing? The reason they didn't join the Big 10 is because Michigan hurt their feelings 100 or 150 years ago or something. I did not think I would be more done with and just astounded by the stupidity, pettiness, crybabiness of a school more than Florida State. But Notre Dame has done it. They're now, it's like they're doing this marching around the walls of Jericho, trying to bring down the whole thing so that they can get their way. Now, there's some things that I failed to mention. There's some updates today, but there's some things I failed to mention from the other videos. Now, I've been on Pigskin Pete's channel to talk about it, and we talked about it on the ACC show last night, which we had on the Rec Talk channel. But these guys are bitching about re-airing a game on a network that ESPN owns. Like, ACC don't have nothing to do with like what's aired on the ACC network. So they're mad about this. They have full voting rights, by the way. They have full voting rights of the ACC. So they want to talk about, you've disparaged Notre Dame. This is an unforgivable sin. It's online with blasphemy. Let's talk about who's done more harm to the ACC. The ACC itself or Notre Dame? Again, the Notre Dame has full voting rights for the ACC without being a member. The ACC is poorly run. No one, I think, is defending the ACC for decisions they've made, though Notre Dame's now made people defend the ACC, something else I would never see happen. But the ACC, it wouldn't be driving in Atlanta if there wasn't some douchebag here with a halfway working visa. He's rocking around. Goddamn, it's probably a Notre Dame fan up here looking on Twitter, trying to tell people how important his feelings are. But the ACC adds Stanford, Cal, and SMU. Now, who do you think that had voting rights and a lot of pull with the ACC? Who do you think wanted Stanford and like Cal in? It was Notre Dame. The main reason those schools were added was Notre Dame. I would argue that has way more to do, that's way more harmful to the ACC than airing some things that hurt our feelings a little bit. So today, let's back up a little bit. What I don't think that their AD has said this, talking about Notre Dame's AD, but their fans have been saying, well, screw the ACC. Screw the ACC. We'll go make a deal with the Big 12. Well, Big 12 came out today, the Big 12 commissioner, and said, I think it's egregious, the way that Notre Dame and their AD has acted about this. Now, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you're supposed to be some educated guy. If you don't know what egregious is, you can go look that up. It basically means you're an asshole, is what it means in parlance there. it means you're acting out of sorts. So the Big 12 commissioner came out today and basically he said, and if Pete bullshit was in here, I'd say it to his face. So you ain't gonna get no deal with the Big 12, right? The truth is, the ACC is the only conference that would have put up with your horse shit and bent the knee. What else could the ACC have done? What else could the ACC have done that they haven't already done? Full voting rights. You get a cut of the TV money when you already have your own network. That they basically do everything you want them to do. And here's how you know this Miami thing and they're favoring Miami over us. What if they are? Here's how you know all that's bullshit though. If let's say the ACC came out and said it should be Notre Dame over Miami, and all we're going to do on the ACC network is air Rudy 24/7. Would they be in the playoffs? No! Miami's not in the playoffs because of what's on the ACC network. We know these guys don't watch the games. They've admitted this. You think they're watching a rerun at 1:30 in the morning of Miami Notre Dame? No. They'd still be mad at the ACC. They'd say, well, the ACC should have tried harder. If they would have tried harder to get us in the playoffs, even though they don't decide who's in the playoffs, then we would be in. Again, the ACC is an easy target because they're a target that can't really swing back at you or has shown that they won't swing back at you. That's why, bringing this full circle, they won't swing at the SEC or Big 10. They're all mad about, Alabama's in the playoffs. Well, they got 3 losses even though one was in a conference. So, they won't vilify the SEC because the SEC can hit back at them. That's why he's licking Greg Sankey's nuts right now, old Pete bullshit is. He came out today and said, we have just an amazing, I have an amazing relationship with Sankey. We've had wonderful conversations. Let me tell you something. The SEC don't need anything from Notre Dame. You're not the TV draw you think you are either. The top 20 most viewed games of the season. Pause the video and tell me how many you think Notre Dame is of the top 20 most viewed games of the season. One, it was number 3. It was the 3rd most viewed game of the season. Who was that against? It was against Miami, but that was all Notre Dame, right? It was only Notre Dame. So it seems like your relationship with the ACC gave you the only game anyone gave a crap about watching this year. What is wrong with you? Then they come out, and this is the stupidest, craziest thing I've heard. I was on the midday show, and Lou and Pete, me, Slim, and some other people were on talking about it. This memorandum of understanding. What the hell is that? What does that mean? To me, a memorandum of understanding is someone gave you their word, and that's about as good as mama's word, which is jack shit. Doesn't mean anything. Evidently he's saying that this was, and this is what Lou was saying on the midday show, they already voted on this, and if they're in the top 12 in the current format, they're basically the 6th auto bid. And if it expands, they have different rules for that. My thing is, why would the SEC, Greg Sankey, the Big 10 commissioner, why would they all vote to screw themselves? Why would they vote to carve out a special little place for Notre Dame and leave out one of their own member schools of their conferences? This makes no sense. Anytime something doesn't pass the smell test with rec, I call bullshit. I call bullshit on Notre Dame's AD because the only one that you hear talking about this memorandum of understanding, which sounds like something from the Chronicles of Narnia or something, the only person talking about this is Notre Dame and their AD. You don't hear Sankey talking about it. You haven't heard anyone on the playoff committee talk about it. You haven't heard anyone that represents the NCAA talk about it. You haven't heard another AD of any school talk about it. And Notre Dame's AD is licking Sankey's nuts right now. So to me, it sounds like he's pitching the idea of this memorandum of understanding and trying to sell it. I'll believe it when I see it. Now, what is Notre Dame? Not Notre Dame. I've seen on Twitter their fans, and this is the exact same thing we saw Florida State fans do, even though they had a legitimate gripe with the ACC, unlike dumbass Notre Dame does. Oh, my friend's a lawyer, and he drew up this 5-point plan to get out of the ACC. Well, good luck with that. How well did that work for Florida State? They sued the ACC. They actually took action, something I don't think Notre Dame will do. For all the faults of Florida State, they actually did pony up money and sue the ACC and pretty much got what they wanted. They got a clear exit plan out of it. I don't know that Notre Dame will do that. And if you do, good. Again, how well did that work for Florida State? They've got a coach right now that can't win a football game for them, and they can't fire, even though, who would have thought Moore at Michigan would have been fired before Mike Norvell? No one. They can't afford to fire him. Everyone thinks like schools like Notre Dame and LSU, they just have some. Penn State's a perfect example. Has infinite sums of money just to throw around. They don't. You're not the draw you think you are. I've demonstrated that by you've only had one of the top 20 most viewed games. No one cares about watching Notre Dame football. The majority of the college football fans in this world are not fans of Notre Dame. You're the most privileged, entitled bullshit fan base that acts just like my daughter when I take a lolly from her because she's had too much candy to eat. And you have had too much candy, Notre Dame. You have your own representative at the college football playoffs. You get your own payout from the college football playoffs, like each conference does, but just for you. You have your own TV contract, and you get a cut of the ACCs. Okay? There's nothing that's going to make you happy, and I would laugh my ass off if Marcus Freeman leaves, because he's been quiet, hasn't he? We talked about this on the ACC show, I would love to hear what Marcus Freeman thinks about this. If you want to take a note from somebody who's actually a grown man and not a little baby crying, look at Vanderbilt's head coach. Clark Lee was asked about it. Vanderbilt has just as much reason to be mad about being left off or argue to be in the playoffs as Notre Dame does. First of all, their strength of schedule is infinitely better than Notre Dame's because they don't get to cherry pick who they play like Notre Dame does. Clark Lee said, yep, you know what? Disappointing, but we missed some opportunities during the season, is basically what he said. That's taking responsibility, something Notre Dame doesn't have a damn clue about. Being a man and taking responsibility for your own shortcomings. And Lord knows, there are many. So, screw Notre Dame, screw Rudy, screw Leprechauns, and screw Lou Holtz too. How about that? Let me know what you think in the comments. Y'all have a good one.